Well, according to the man himself, there is not even a question that Gary Player is the third best golfer in history.
GP,
He,
that way.
he,
I
he
love
did an interview recently where he said, clearly Jack Nicklaus is number one. Tiger could have been number one if he, quote, had made the right decisions, but there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If doesn't matter. And then he said very clearly he is the third best golfer. There is not even a question about that. He says he judges the best players of all time with a record book. It's on paper, he says. That's why Nicklaus gets the best record. It's why he gets the third best record. So, Mark, I don't think, the South African connection here, I don't think Gary has ever lacked confidence in himself and his place in the history of the game. Clearly one of the greatest ever, but solidly third, he says.
Look, I love Gary. I'm fortunate that he's a mentor. I look up to him. He's a hero of mine. And he says these sorts of things at times. And this is the thing he's always said to all of us South Africans, and a lot of them took him seriously. Like Ernie Els, Gary said, I've traveled more miles around the world playing golf than any other golfer. And so you can call me the greatest worldwide golfer. So when he says in the world, that's probably where he's going. It's a question of semantics that might have been misunderstood by a headline or whatever. But Gary has traveled to all corners of the globe playing and winning. He's won the Grand Slam. Now, I find it curious because he will say to me, or he's said to me, best golfer that I've ever seen play, where he goes, if you want to learn about ball striking, go and watch Lee Trevino. And then Gary would say to me, oh, Bob Jones, greatest. Just because of the man, the statesman, the golfer, the record, the whole sort of thing. Because Jones played a limited schedule and won everything he played in, basically. He won all the majors that there were when he was playing. He did that in 1 year. And so Gary's made that argument. And then Gary will also speak of how great Ben Hogan was, and his reverence for Ben Hogan, and how Mr. Hogan gave him a lesson one time. It was how the right leg worked. And then Gary will also speak about Jack and Tiger, and especially Arnold Palmer. And my reverence, I don't want to use the word twice, but the way I look up to Arnold Palmer is a function of Gary Player and the way he's spoken about him. So, look, I know Gary's going to say stuff like this. As far as I'm concerned, what's he, 89 or something? Now he's earned the right to say whatever he pleases. He does have the record. He has traveled more around the globe than anybody, and he's still doing that. He's incredible for what he's done with his fitness and how he played in 51 Masters tournaments, and he broke the Arnold Palmer record. And that spoke to what he believed too, because we were all like, you don't break the King's record at Augusta National. And Mr. Player said to us, he goes, then why have I been trying to prove to people that healthy living is worthwhile? I'm going to do this because I can. So there are many, I sound like a litigator that's taking both sides here. So you could look at it from both sides. But as far as I'm concerned, having listened to Mr. Player, the way he talks with adulation about Jones and Hogan and Trevino and such. Look, Trevino's not that high on the list, but Jones and Hogan certainly are. I'm struck that Gary would say that.
There's a lot to this. I actually think this is a good conversation to even say, hey, Gary should be in that conversation. You know, it is fun. We talk about one, we talk about two, but who's that number three? And when you start putting in the global side of things, Gary gets a huge boost here. So he's credited for 159 professional wins all over the globe. Like basically, I think it's every continent but Antarctica. I mean, it's something outrageous. And that is just what he has been credited with. There's probably a lot more than that. The career Grand Slam, he does get probably a little overlooked, but Greg, you went with Ben Hogan. That's a 9-time major champion. Gary's got 9 as well. If you think maybe, okay, let's go more modern. Well, Watson started right as Player was winding down, and he's only one major behind. If you think majors get harder to win as time goes on. So I actually think this is a really good opportunity to like honor the great career of Gary Player, even though what he said is probably a little ridiculous.
Well, I don't. The ridiculous part of what he said is that there's no question about it. Okay.
I got lots of questions about it.
He is in the conversation. And I'll tell you this. I was messing around with Chat GPT.
Oh, good.
Okay. And I was trying to come up with a formula for how to make a list of the greatest golfers of all time. Like if you put in certain levers, how do the rankings go? And I put a significant weight on majors and a less significant weight on international victories, which Mr. Player would clearly not like very much.
He would put you in a headlock for that.
Yeah. So, PGA Tour wins. I did an era boost, so to speak. And Gary came out at number 3 in some, number 4 in some versions, number 5 in some versions. I think the closest version I have, which is still very flawed, has him 5. He is not far off from number 3, but there is a question about it. Like he played in 150 majors. That is an astonishing number, and he should be credited for that. But Ben Hogan won 9 majors and played in 58. That's a significant difference, right? They have the same total. But one guy played in a third of the number. And I know that many of Mr. Players were late in his career, and he wasn't necessarily contending for a victory. But I put a bigger weight on the PGA Tour. I think that when you look at tours worldwide, you can get into some very weak fields. And so Gary Player's playing in South Africa or playing in Australia, and somebody else there's another group. There's a whole group playing here in the States, and everybody's spread out. So the totals are totally different. You don't know if he would have beaten them or would not have, or if those guys were playing here, if they would have beaten him or would not have. It becomes very complicated. So if you look at the numbers, they are extremely close. Like this list that I have right now, it has Ben Hogan at 67 points and Gary Player at 61 points.
What's it got Jones as?
In a separate category. Okay.
Greg GPT doesn't treat Bobby Jones the way
I don't.
The PGA Tour was not even a thing back then.
I know. That's why it's a separate category. If you run the numbers, just numbers, Bobby Jones is 27th.
Oh my
now
God.
you have him, but you have to understand where they come from, right? Bobby Jones has 7 majors. He's got somehow the robots gave him 9 PGA Tour wins. I get 7 of them, I guess. Not even. I really don't even understand that. So he should really be lower because I don't know that he won 9 PGA Tour events. He was an amateur. The British Am is not a
PGA Tour back then. That's why.
I know.
I'll tell you why. Here's what the robots are doing. The robots are pulling from Wikipedia, which says he has 9 PGA Tour events because it counts his 7 majors as PGA Tour wins. It counts the Southern Open and the Southeastern Open. Those
So those are the other 2. So it gives him 9.
Do you know where the Southern Open originated?
Atlanta.
Columbus, Georgia, baby.
Columbus, Georgia.
Just around the corner from me. Wait. Okay, so who of you trust AI?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, I'm going to read to you because I just typed it in while Greg was doing his thing. And this is what AI says. I asked the question, what's the list of the best golfers ever? Number 1, Nicklaus. Number 2, Woods. Number 3, Hogan. Number 4, Jones. Number 5, Sam Snead. Number 6, Arnold Palmer. 7, Gary Player. 8, Walter Hagen. 9, Tom Watson. 10, Phil Mickelson.
It's not a bad list.
That's what the
It's not.
AI says. So now, I
Now
wanna
there are
tweak
like
it
some
for-
little tweaks that I'd make in there.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, okay. I'm going to let you tweak all you like now, because let's say we created the Mount Rushmore for golfers. Have a go, Greg.
Yeah.
You first, then you, Rick.
Rushmore is hard because you only get 4, Greg.
Exactly, Greg.
This is hard.
You're not looking at your strokes gained list, are you?
No, I'll check out strokes gained off the tee because
Exactly.
I think approach play is really important. So I'll give a
Really.
bump to Tiger. Tiger's on there. Nicklaus is on there. Hogan is on there, and I think there's a place for Bobby Jones on there, and I don't believe Bobby Jones is the 4th greatest golfer of all time. But
he
when
created
you're talking
monsters.
about Mount Rushmore,
That's right.
he is the greatest amateur of all time. And when he played, being an amateur was the thing to be.
Elite, exactly.
You know,
Pros,
so
the pros were riffraff.
pros were right. I mean, his caddy was probably a pro. You know, that's a problem. So he is the greatest of all time in a category, and I think that puts him on Mount Rushmore. And then I would put Tiger, Jack, and the Hawk.
I think that's right. So I think when you start talking Rushmore, you have to consider the overall contributions, which is why, like, you can make an argument Arnold Palmer should be on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's the reason for the PGA Tour.
Right. So, like, when you start talking about contributions to the game, that is what I think Rushmore is, not necessarily the 4 greatest golfers. So Jack, Tiger, boom, boom, that's a layup. I think Hogan, Jones is right, but if you wanted to swap either 2 of those for Arnold Palmer, I'd be fine for a Mount Rushmore. But I think Greg has
with that spirit, it would have to be you take Hogan off,
Take
and put
Hogan.
Put
Palmer
Palmer in. I'm agreeing. Yeah.
But Hogan, and then you could put Player in that with if you are you know, if you consider what he's done worldwide.
He's actually more likely to be on Mount Rushmore than to be in the top 4 golfers.
Could make an argument,
so
right?
much for the game and globally and all that stuff. Yeah.
I think Gary Player is very clearly in somewhere between number 3 and number 6 all-time greatest golfers. I think in there's a lot of, you know, like those wins, all those international wins are not created equal.
I want to say this, okay? Now, this is opening up another can of worms. But if you haven't seen it and you have the opportunity, you've got to go on Thursday morning at the Masters and watch the ceremonial tee shots. And to see Player, now Watson and Nicklaus on the tee, and the numbers next to their names is not their entry number, it's their age. And you see Gary, the oldest of the bunch, get up there, rip one down the fairway, and then do the high leg kick like he always does. I'm like, this dude is everlasting. He's going to be here for the next 100 years. And there is an argument to be made for greatest golfers of all time. I mean, he's an all-timer. He's lasting longer than every other one of them.
In his own words, all his friends are dead. And that is all you need to know.
Except for Jack.
About Gary Player, who turns 90 on Saturday, November 1st, 2 days away. So
happy birthday.
Happy early birthday.
I love him. I mean, there's so many times we've been in like food lines and stuff, and he'll look at your plate and he goes, "You eating that rubbish?" And I'm like, "Yes, Mr. Player." And he goes, "That'll kill you, you know." And I'm like, "Okay, are you gonna have yours?" You know, but is the passion of the man is infectious, and the attitude of the guy is like nauseatingly positive. He told me one time, he goes, "I never get a bad bounce, never ever." And I was like, thinking behind my eyes, I'm like, you are crazy. But he truly believes it. And that's why he still gets good bounces, because it's all he sees. He doesn't ever see the negative. He will turn a day full of rain into the brightest day in the world. I mean, the strength of his mind is unbelievable. And that's why he's still going on.
I love when he says, "You're champions with the fork and knife."
He came on my podcast like way back in the day, right? I wish I still had this. Actually, it was when it was still like a on-demand radio show, and I interviewed him, and it was supposed to be about how I play golf. But with Gary, it could kind of go off the rails a little bit. And so I said to him, "So, Mr. Player, let's revisit this tournament, like the Masters, playing alongside Sevi, where you charged to 64, and that inspired Ballesteros to be a future Masters champion." And he pivots straight into obesity in the United States. He goes, "It's a disease, and we've just got to watch what we eat because people are killing themselves with the amount of sugar and stuff." I'm like, oh gosh, I was just wanting to talk about the Masters,
That's why he's going to outlive all of us.
That's true.
We'll be kicking.